Mr. President, thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm glad to be here.
So in your new book, Citizen, My Life After the White House, you write, and I quote, "By the time you read Citizen, we'll know who won. I hope enough people will have chosen the benefits of inclusive economic and social policies and of preserving democracy against abusive power to turn the tide." Donald Trump is now president-elect. Is his election a rejection of the benefits of inclusive economic and social policies, a rejection of preserving democracy, do you think?
Oh, by some, but only a small percentage. I think maybe more than half, but not much more than half of his voters. But we didn't have enough supporters who thought inclusive societies, inclusive capitalism, inclusive governance was more important than divisive governments, are more important than other things they cared about to prevail. So we have to just keep fighting. I can't say I was surprised. I had the feeling all along that at the end, this thing might break one way or the other, and all the so-called swing states would vote together, because the last 2, 3, 4% were actually pretty much alike throughout the country.
Mm-hmm. You also write, "Our oldest demons are patient ones, always eager to manifest themselves in new clothes, and if we let them, to turn back our progress toward a more equal, sustainable, and peaceful planet. So many of our victories have to be refought and won again and again." Do you think the American people are up to refight these victories, even though, as you were just saying, Trump's margin of victory is a narrow one?
At least this time, there is no question that he actually won both the popular vote and the Electoral College. And when he won before, he lost the popular vote and only won the Electoral College because of the late intervention of James Comey, and I think the false presentation of the email issue. There's been a lot of change for people to digest, a lot of economic adversity and upheaval, a lot of political upheaval, a lot of social developments. And if you think about it, some of the votes that happened in the last election are people who are just exhausted by uncertainty and tired of carrying it around. And that always helps the right. There are never any final victories or defeats in politics. And our demons are old, and in some ways, this election reminded me of some of the arguments that were made by the people who opposed America's independence from the beginning and thought we should stay a part of England. And then the people who thought that secession was a good thing before the Civil War. And then for the people who thought that during Reconstruction, the South should be able to go back to being just as it was. And then for the people who were bitterly against all the immigrants coming to America in the early 20th century, even though they built our railroads and deeply enriched our country. This is an old, old story. And it's always a struggle because people are vulnerable to negative reactions if they think they're being moved down on the totem pole somehow. Mm-hmm. They're being shafted because someone else is getting a break they don't deserve, or because they think they're entitled to live in a world where there's one set of rules for them, more favorable, and another set for everybody else. A lot of new technology, a lot of clever innovations in authoritarian governments around the world, like Russia and China and others. But it's an old story.
You are a former president. You had to pick a cabinet. Can you believe who Donald Trump is picking to be in a second Trump administration?
Yeah. Well, you have to listen to Donald Trump. He's been very forthright about how he views the world. He's interested in people who are loyal to him 100% of the time, no matter what the issue, no matter what the facts, no matter who gets hurt. He wants people who just say yes and then get after it first. Second, he believes that his supporters have no confidence whatever in the federal government. And Lord knows he's done everything he could to destroy that confidence. And he believes he can just say, well, I appointed these people, they're smart, and they're going to shake things up. But I think that in demonizing all establishments and all people who wear a tie like you and me to work and have a good education, we are breaking down the legitimacy of not only people who may be too sanctimonious and too set in their ways in the past, but also people who actually know things that are very important for us today and very important for our continued growth and prosperity and harmony. Politics is the only business in which you can prove your authenticity by not knowing anything, you know. And I think that's a problem, and we'll pay for it unless we get over it. But that's a problem for the Democrats too. We have to learn to talk to people in ways that they can relate to. That's why, you know, when I did my best to help this time, I didn't want to go to any big rallies and big television things. I just wanted to get in the country. Just go out and talk to people. Because I think that we're behind in the sense that a lot of the small town and rural people are now highly sophisticated in how they get their information. And there are zillions of new websites now, all trying to advance their sort of conservative to right-wing radical cause. And a lot of times we're not playing on the same field, and we're not even being heard. So I just said, send me out there and I'll see if I can't do some good. I have no idea if I did, but I tried. And I talked to people I found interesting and by and large well-meaning. But sometimes it was heartbreaking because it was just unmoored from what I believe to be reality. And so we'll see what happens. It's